Hello, everybody, and welcome here to another edition of Every Rockie Ever, a Colorado Rockies podcast celebrating the history of the team and the players that have made it possible over these past 30 years. I'm your host, Skyler Timmins, joined always by my brother, Dustin, wearing his Albuquerque Mariachis hat, as always. And we have a very special guest today, our very first former Rocky, who was literally part of Every Rockie Ever, in one Brandon Barnes, spending 3 years with the team from 2014 to 2016, roaming the outfield, making all the plays, hitting home runs, everything in between. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you.
No, man, I'm stoked to be on with you guys, man. You guys showed me some love over those 3 years, so I'm just stoked to be here and chat about Rockies baseball, man.
So I guess the first thing we wanted to ask is just kind of give us a lowdown of your history with baseball, getting into the sport and ultimately getting drafted by the Astros there.
Yeah, I mean, it started at a very young age. I think I was 3 when I first picked up a bat and ball. My grandfather, my dad, big parts of that. My grandfather, I would say, my parents were always working to support, me and my sister. So my grandfather took that role of like, I'm going to teach you how to play the game, how to play it right, play it with almost a football mentality where I'm going to run through every wall and dive for every ball I possibly could and just play the game hard. He loved the old school mentality, the Pete Rose style of the game. And I just always loved that way. And it was something that I felt deep down inside me that's the way I needed to play. And so from there, it just, little league, a little bit of travel ball. Travel ball wasn't big when I was growing up, and then went to high school, played sophomore my junior year on varsity and ended up quitting baseball my senior year. I had a scholarship to UCLA to play football. So I decided, I got to get to college somehow, and football was kind of it at that time. And some things fell through, and I ended up walking on at Cypress College and getting drafted by the Astros in the 6th round.
Wow. Yeah, I remember. How did that history of playing football kind of help you in your baseball career? Because I remember reading some articles about that football mentality you would bring to the Rockies and on the field in general.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of energy, it was more of a mindset, I would say, of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win that day, and I'm going to go to battle every single, like, I took it as like, I'm going to war every single day, just like you do on the gridiron. Like, I'm going out there on that diamond, and I'm going to war. Like, I'm trying to win. I don't care if my buddy's on the other side. Like, I'm going to beat you up that day.
So we wanted you spend that time in the Astros organization, and part we wanted to get to is obviously talking about your time with the Rockies. It was kind of a notable trade for the Rockies and kind of this transitionary period for them where they send Dexter Fowler over to the Astros for you and Jordan Lyles come over to the Rockies. What was that like, your feeling and reaction when you get that news that you've been traded to the Colorado Rockies for Dexter Fowler?
Yeah, that was it was a crazy day because at the end of that season, they sat me down and they're like, hey, look, you're going to be a big part of this team moving forward, whether it's a starter or a role player. People here like you, they want you to be around for a long time. And so I was like, great, like, sweet. I'm going to be here for a while. And, me and my wife were on a plane to Miami going to a professional athletes outreach conference. And I got off the plane and turned my phone on, and I had like 3 text messages from the GM, a missed phone call, and a voicemail. So I, before I even exited the plane, I called him and just sat in my seat. And, it was pretty brief. It was, hey, Brandon, we want to thank you for everything you've done. You've been a big part of this team moving forward and the transition of like rebuilding. And we wish you the best of luck. You've been traded to Colorado, you and Jordan Lyles, and the Rockies will be in touch with you. And that was it. After spending eight years with the team, it's a shock. I grew up there. I became a man there. But I knew that I was going somewhere where someone really liked me. Because when you get traded, I mean, they're trading you for a reason. And then when it come to find out it was for Dexter Fowler, I was like, oh man, I don't know how the Rockies fans are going to feel about this.
Yeah, I know initially, Dustin Timmins, people were kind of questioning the move just because they love Dexter. He's been
Yeah.
that staple. But I think those concerns kind of quickly went away as they got to see you in a Rockies uniform. You're rocking the awesome classic black vest behind you on the wall,
Oh yeah.
uh, which we severely miss those jerseys. I love those black vests. But I think you quickly won Rockies fans over. Wouldn't you say, Dustin?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because Dexter was a huge guy in the outfield. His diving catch on the no hitter with Ubaldo, and kind of get Rockies fans didn't know Brandon Barnes. The hit for the cycle, the inside the park home run abilities, and you came and made an instant impact of that personality of a guy that showed up to work every day, like you said, that football mentality. I'm here to grind and do the best that I can in whatever, because there was a loaded outfield when
Yeah.
you arrived in Denver. And so seeing you, it was an instant. I think the way that you played ball, us as Rockies fans took our hearts and we're like, this is a guy that we want. He's exciting to watch when he's playing.
Yeah. It's, coming over to especially a city that really didn't get to see me play because we weren't in the same division. But, I wanted to go out there and just do it for the city. Like when I played the game, I played for the city because I understood like my paycheck was being paid by the fans in the seats, by the city. And so for me, that'd be, I feel like I'd be doing the city a disservice if I just went out there and just kind of went about my business and just played the game instead of like giving my heart and soul, to my team, to the city, to the Rockies. And that's just how I went about it. And it was awesome. And I loved every single moment of it.
So when you first played your first game at Coors Field, we hear this all the time about the outfield. What was your kind of first impression just playing at Coors Field itself, the outfield, the ground you'd have to cover, just being in that ballpark?
Yeah, I freaking love that ballpark, man. I love how big the outfield is. I played there with the Astros one series before, and playing center field, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like I can go get it. Like I have a chance to run and just like keep going. Where most parks, like you'll run into the fence. Like it's a little bit more tight and compact, but Coors Field, you can really run into the gaps and go get it. And then just the big thing was getting used to the altitude, getting used to like sucking wind real quick. My first hit was a triple at home, and I mean I got to third, and I was just like I felt like I was gonna puke, man. I had to get that oxygen tank on, just start sucking some in. But I absolutely love the field. It's probably one of my more favorite places to play. It's absolutely beautiful. The grounds crew there is probably one of the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and fans, we always love going there. I know Dustin, he's a little closer to Coors Field these days than I am, but it's always fun to head out there. No, as fans, it's just a beautiful ballpark, and can't imagine what it'd be like to just even play out there on the grass, on the field, step into the box. It sounds like a dream come true.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. I was just out there the last 2 weeks, on and off, and just being out on the field again and touching the grass and seeing the fans. It's brought back a lot of cool memories and stuff that I'll truly cherish till the end of time.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of all that, what was it? Just the feeling of prepping to be in a game. Now, take us through that mindset of prepping to play a big league game. Because as fans, Dustin played in college, and I didn't get past high school. But what's that preparation like for a big league game? Especially with the Rockies.
Yeah, for me, it always started the night before. Like if I knew I was going to be in the lineup, it was usually going to be, Kershaw or Bumgarner or one of those lefties in that division. So I would start the night before. I would after I put the kids to bed, I'd sit there and I'd go over my last at bats against, if it was Bumgarner, I'd see how he pitched me the last time I went out. If he, struck me out a couple times, maybe that's the plan he's going to go with. So I kind of built my plan the night before. I was one of usually the first guys to show up to the field. It just, I loved being there. I loved being at the park and just getting my day right. I would go in, get a lift in early. So I kind of warm my body up. Working out's still a big part of my life. So it was just something that just kept me going and got my day right. And then I'd have lunch, I'd go in the training room, worked on whatever I needed to work on. And then I go back to the film room in the back and just start to prepare my day mentally, watching some film, watching my swing, making sure it's all right before I head into the cage and do my tee work or my soft toss drills. And then it's just pretty much go out, get some outfield work in, a little bit of hitting pregame, and then go back in and take a shower, get ready, and maybe jump in the hot tub just to really get my body warm. And then right before game time, I'd slug a Red Bull just so I made sure I had that energy for the city.
There you go. I don't think those were Dustin's preparations in college.
Well, maybe they should have been.
Yeah, it's an all day grind, man. It's something you prepare for all day. You're playing at the highest level where there's some guys that should be playing a level above, right? And you got to make sure if you're not the best player on that field, and by no means I was the best player on the field ever, but I was going to prepare like I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's that mentality that really endeared you to a lot of Rockies fans. And I remember when I posted about you on Twitter, on our Twitter account or whatever it's called now. We'll still call it Twitter.
X.
Yeah, X. But when I posted that, just the outpouring of fans that just liked the post and just continued to mention how much they appreciated you on the field and how much they missed you and like you're a stud and all this stuff. It was kind of cool to see because even just a brief stint with the Rockies in those 3 years, you endeared yourself as one of those guys. Like you said, you weren't the huge name, you weren't the Nolan Arenados and everything, but you went out there and brought that energy, which endeared you to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, and I mean that's all I wanted, honestly. Like going back and getting to see some of the old fans, the season ticket holders, even some people that worked concessions that remembered me and I remembered them. For them to come up to me and say, "Hey, look, we just appreciated the way you played and what you did for the city while you were on the field, the way you treated people off the field." Like that's what I wanted to be. Baseball to me, it wasn't who I am. It's what I did, and I just wanted to make a mark, right? Like whether it was on the field or if it was off, I just wanted to make a positive impact in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, that was something that I always think of is baseball players outside of baseball. And you were one of those guys that I know when Jason Mott had the strike, the K to cancer type of stuff, you were one of those guys always repping that shirt.
Yeah.
And seeing, baseball is this big in the grand scheme of things. Like you said, you got kids to put to bed before you start prepping. Knowing that, seeing that side of baseball players, that's what makes them is the family man, what they do for the community.
Yeah.
And you showed that and lived that, even the stuff you're doing post baseball career. And for me, as a dad, I'm a high school Spanish teacher now and coach, soccer and baseball and stuff. Teaching young men sport, there's more to it. Being, who you are outside of baseball. You could be the elite athlete and treat people like garbage, but you've got other examples such as yourself that this guy shows that he cares about people outside of baseball, and it radiates. And I think that was another factor, especially for me. Like this guy, he looks like a cool dude, tatted up, smile on his face, like he wants to be there. And I'm here for you guys, and that's what's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's something when I had my kids, like I always remembered, one day they're gonna watch me play, whether in person or we watch an old game. Like they're going to see how I played the game. And I want to be that influence to my kids that know that, like, if you go work as hard as you possibly can and you're a good person and you treat people right, like, good things will happen to you. Like, there's no way I should have played in the big leagues for 6.5 years, right? Like, no chance. I wasn't that good, right? But I had the mindset of, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give 100% every single day with a positive attitude, even when, like, things went wrong. I got sent down, came back up. Like, I wasn't going to let that affect me, because I knew that someone that day was paying to watch me play. And so why am I just going to go half-ass when someone's paying good money to come see me play? Like, I wanted to leave an impact.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's the perfect mentality. Thinking you had that good, you still had a good, solid career, and you made it to the big leagues. We talk about it here on this show, looking back on guys that even if they had just the one game, the one at bat, they accomplished that ultimate goal of being a big leaguer, which is really speaks volumes. And then to take it further with the approach that you're talking about, it means a lot. It's significant.
Absolutely, man. It's pretty cool. You look back, I still look back every once in a while and, like, I got to live out my dream for 16 years. Like, whether I made the big leagues or not, like, I got to play baseball for 16 years. Like, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people don't get that chance. And for you to enjoy it as much as you did, and as we talk with you here, is really, really cool. And speaking of just favorite moments and everything, that's what kind of want to, as we transition here in the conversation, so what are some of those favorite moments or memories, whatever it could be, about your career in Colorado?
Oh man, there's a few of them. Obviously, my first home run in what was that, 2014, was a inside the park home run. Pretty cool. And then just to turn around 10 days later and go to, I think it was AT&T Park at the time, against the Giants, and hit a game-winning in the top of the ninth and inside the park homer off Sergio Romo. Like, to me, that was probably one of the cooler moments of my career as a Rocky. Like, I was fired up, dude. Like, I came in, slid it home, and, like, I don't even know if I was cussing or just screaming, like, hands up, like, like, I was just so stoked, man. I mean, I didn't like the Giants either. California kid, the Giants weren't it, the Dodgers aren't it. Like, I was so stoked to be in that division because I got to play against the teams that I despised as a kid, right? So, those two moments were probably at the top. In a weird way, it was my teammates, man, getting to play with, future Hall of Famers, all-stars. I mean, I think our whole infield at that point had been an all-star. You got Nolan over there with like 15 Gold Gloves already. You had Tulo, you had DJ, you had Morneau and Kadire at first. We had Charlie Blackmon, Corey Dickerson, Drew Stubbs, Carlos Gonzalez. I mean, we ended up having Gerardo Parra. Like, I mean, the guys I was playing with were unreal. Like, how cool is it to go from a team that was a rebuilding team to a team full of studs, like guys you watched growing up or just played against? Like, that was, for me, was a really cool moment. And to feel like I belonged there was awesome.
Yeah, and I love about the inside the park home runs. I don't know if you noticed, you were the first Rocky to ever have 2 inside the park home runs in a single season, let alone in the same month.
Yeah.
I think Charlie Blackmon ended up joining you in that club a few years later. But the level of guys that you got to play with had to be really something cool. Like you're mentioning, what was it like playing with some of these guys? Like, we see them on the field, but what was it like to just be around them?
Man, I learned so much that year compared to the previous 8 years I played pro ball. Just the knowledge on that team was insane, right? Like, gosh, even, we have Vinny Castilla, who's in our clubhouse every day, just talking, hitting to us, being able to pick the brain. Like, Cargo was probably my best friend on the team. My locker was right next to his. And we still talk to this day. Like, he was a big impact in my career. Like, he's just like, dude, you're way more talented than you think. Just give it time. Keep playing the way you do. It was constant, like, like them telling me that I could be here and I deserve to be here and I could be an everyday guy if I just applied myself. And, that's not the way my career ended up. But, dude, the knowledge, it was just like nonstop. Every day I was learning something from those guys.
And that's what's awesome is, I played college ball down at CSU Pueblo, and we've got our alumni weekend coming up, so I got to start getting loose again. But it's that brotherhood that when you're with a team, the different characters that all make it work, and it's lifelong bonds that you create, and that's something that's cool that we get to see. And I actually pitched against Cargo, and he's 0 for 1 on me. So
let's go.
He's an awesome guy that he's one that Rockies fans miss a ton. But Vinny Castilla, like you said, just the knowledge, because we were looking back at those players, like you said, full of all-stars, Gold Glove winners of, Justin Morneau is a former MVP, and just that experience of playing. I played ball with Mike Jasperson. That's a Jaspy.
Yeah.
He'd be posting stuff, playing fantasy football with the guys or golfing in spring training. I'm like, man, see, that guy's just living it up with these dudes. And I'm here with my brother doing a podcast, so we're somewhat living the dream.
I love it. What it's all about.
And I wanted to bring up some other of my favorite memories for you. And I mentioned to you when we were setting this up that my memories of you is not so much the inside the park home runs, but it was just all the catches that you would be making in the outfield. It seemed like every time you were out there, some way or another, you're making just an incredible flying out of nowhere, making a diving catch. I saw a clip of you in San Diego, robbing a home run and kind of jawing at the fans.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. That one was a good one. I'll give you a little backstory on that one. So before that inning, I was warming up, tossing with Chuck, and said, "Oh no, I think I was tossing with the little ball, the bat boy on the side, ball boy, whatever you want to call him." And I just hear this fan like chirping at me, man. And right before like the batter, I think it was Rene Rivera, had come up, and this fan just kept jawing at me like, "Rene's gonna hit a homer right here. He's gonna hit a homer." And I looked at him and said, "I'm gonna rob it right now." And dude, 2 pitches later, bam, he hits it. I jump up, I grab it, and then I like beat on my chest, and I just look at him. I said, I told you. So I like to have fun with the fans. Like, as much as they like to have fun with us and chirp at us, like I was free game. Like, I didn't care if you chirped at me, but I'm gonna chirp back and have fun with you.
Mm-hmm. And I remember because it was just like through researching and looking up clips. That one stuck out to me. I'm like, that's a good one.
Yeah, that one was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Or this other one, at Coors Field. And shout out to our buddy Mac Wilcox over at purpleroad.com. He wrote an article about you called "My Guy Brendan Barnes." Mac's a good guy. Loved your career. You're one of his dudes. And it was when you flew out of nowhere at Coors Field and stole a double from Matt Carpenter.
Oh yeah,
against the Cardinals. This is the catch that sticks out in my mind. It's just this Superman catch. And I want to take us through that mindset of tracking down a ball, choosing when to go for that kind of play.
Yeah, that was honestly, man, like, you could work as hard as you want and routes and all this, but I just had this knack of being able to go get the ball. And for me, it stemmed from football. I was a wide receiver and a safety. So when they threw it up, I went to go get it. And I remember transitioning into baseball again in college, and the outfield coach told me, he's like, "You played wide receiver, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "The quarterback leads you to the ball, correct?" And I was like, "Yeah." He says, "It's the same thing. The ball's leading you to the catch. So go get it and don't stop until you make the catch." And so it was almost just like an instinct thing that I knew that I could make the catch. I just had to go for it. And the more you go for it, the more you learn how far you can jump, how high you can jump, if you can even dive at all, right? Like, sometimes you just got to pull up. But yeah, I remember that catch like it was yesterday. It's probably one of my more favorite ones as well. I think I'd struck out 3 times that game, and I think we were down big time that game. But I was like, these are still my pitcher stats. Like my guy's out there grinding, and I got to save the day if I have to. So I never let up on the gas. That was a big thing. Like whether I was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts or 4 for 4 with 4 homers, like I was going out there, and the gas pedal was on full throttle at all times.
Mm-hmm. And like we've been talking about throughout this, it showed on the field, and that brings energy because those were still difficult years for the Rockies. Record-wise, things just didn't pan out the way we all hoped. But you always brought that energy. You and guys like Cargo, Gerardo Parra brought that energy to a club, which it doesn't make the losing go down better, but it makes it more endurable because you can keep pushing forward and getting better.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we go out there because we love the game, and if you go out there with a mopey attitude, you might not truly love the game. Not every big leaguer loves the game like some of us. I absolutely loved playing the game. Coaching and the other things, like not necessarily, but I thoroughly loved the competition of the game and that back and forth battle. How long it took to play a game. Like I love the 4.5-hour games. I love the doubleheader. Let's play 3 today. Like I don't care. So it was fun, man, and I enjoyed it. Like you couldn't let up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I almost was dependent on to bring the energy at some points, but I was bringing it no matter what. So when I see guys down, whether we lost 7 in a row or we won 5 in a row, it was going to be the same me every single day, and you better be up because I'm going to be in your face.
Yeah, and teams need that. There's always room for that kind of guy in a clubhouse, and we're glad that you were able to be one of those guys. Before we wrap up here, we'll keep you a little bit longer, and I'm sure Dustin maybe has a question or two still to go. But something that I wanted to ask that I've been wondering about is, if you were able to be there at Coors Field, watch the Rockies, your impressions of some of those young outfielders and like Nolan Jones and Brenton Doyle roaming the outfield and kind of your impressions of them and this Rockies team moving forward.
Yeah, man. I'll start with Brenton Doyle. He's going to be a stupid outfielder, like ridiculous. The way he goes and gets the ball. I mean, I'd like to say I was pretty good, but he's way better. He has a chance to be a centerpiece of that team once he starts to figure out the bat a little bit. Just watching, I wasn't the best hitter, but watching and being around the guys that I've been around, as he progresses, the looser he'll get, the more confident he gets. There might be some swing changes that happen this offseason, but his potential's through the roof. And then my guy, Nolan Jones, man, when I was over in Cleveland, he was a young kid in Double-A, I think, and he was one of the younger guys that, I think I was 34 at the time, and he came up to me and just wanted to talk baseball, wanted to learn and pick my brain because I'd been in it for so long, and that we bonded and we had a good relationship. And I remember the moment he came over to Colorado, I was like, dude, you're gonna love it. Like I texted him, I was like, you're gonna freaking love it over there. It's probably the best place for you because they're gonna see his potential, the upside of playing at Coors Field, and then making the transition from being a third baseman to an outfielder. I mean, what do you have? 19 outfield assists this year and broke the Rockies record.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. Like nobody transitions from third base to the outfield and goes and throws 19 outfield assists, let alone has that many chances to throw that many guys out. And maybe it was they were trying to expose him because they knew he was a third baseman and not an outfielder. But I mean, he proved them all wrong. I think he's got some work to do in the outfield, but he's an athlete, man. He's still long and lanky. He's young. His body hasn't truly filled out yet. He's faster than what he looks like. Mm-hmm. He almost kind of reminds me of the way Chuck Nasty runs, like super. Doesn't it look like they're almost running slow, but their just strides are insane. And Nolan's upside is I mean, he won NL Player of the Rookie of the Month this last month and ended a 2020 season, right? 20 homers, 20 stolen bases. Like, dude, kid's never really had a chance in the big leagues, and he just went 2020. So that's my guy. He's going to be there for a long time. I believe it. I think if he just has fun and continues to grow as a player and as a person, and just really embraces that Rocky culture and that Rocky mentality and the city, like the sky's the limit for that kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm super excited about Nolan. It's fun. He's a fun guy to watch play baseball. Him and Brenton Doyle just roaming the outfield.
He brings the energy too, man. Like I always told him, I said, you got to go out there and play like your hair's on fire, man. Like go get it every day, because you don't get this chance very often. And I remember I was there 2 weeks ago. I was down in the field talking with him or whatever before the game, and gave him a big hug. And I was like, hey, just have fun, man. Enjoy it. And like, he was like, hell yeah. And I think he hit a homer that night. So he's a good kid, man. He's a really good baseball player, but he's an even better person.
Mm-hmm. But something I wanted to ask too is just kind of a former player's perspective, because the Rockies are kind of in this. They've always kind of been in a weird position as an organization, just trying to figure things out. But what would you say is one of their strengths moving forward, and something that maybe you wish maybe had been different when you were playing for them, or something that you observe of how they could improve and get back to where they need to be?
Yeah, man, it's tough, right? Because you need pitching. Right. Like when I was there, we had all the stud guys in the infield, the outfield, like we had the team. It's just really hard to get pitchers in free agency to want to come over. And if you're going to go for a trade, like if you're going to get a big guy, you got to dump your whole minor league system. The Rockies don't have that. They can't give up prospects, right? Like we're trying to build them from the ground up. So I know where they're coming from. It's difficult to get free agents because nobody wants to pitch at Coors Field, and I get it. Like, it's tough. The numbers don't look the same. So going out of that and trying to get another contract, like it never looks good. I think they need to lean on their youth right now. We've got some young guys that are very talented and have a chance to be superstars. You've got guys like Ryan McMahon that are already there. You got Chuck Nasty coming back for another year, which will be really good for those young outfielders. And I really like the shortstop. I think he's going to be a big piece of that infield going forward. Brendan Rodgers, I think he has a chance to be a stud. I just don't know if he's truly figured it out yet. But he's got potential and he's got upside. I think the biggest thing is finding those pieces on the mound, right?
Uh-huh.
Having to develop studs from the minor leagues, from the draft all the way up. I know that they got a couple good pitchers in the last couple of drafts, but it's tough because you don't know how guys are going to respond to pro ball. You don't know how they're going to respond to the schedule, how their arm's going to pan out after college. Like, these guys throw tons of innings in college now. Like it's insane. So yeah, I would say they're going to have to lean on the youth and try to stick with those guys and let them grow. And it's going to be like a 3 to 5 year plan. I think if you do it right and you go get the right guys to fit with those young core, and go find that pitching any way you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully.
And that's always the thing with the Rockies, right? Like, we've had studs, we've had the guys, just never pans out. And I get it. It's disappointing for the fans and the city, but it's coming. I feel it. Like there's got to be a pivot at some point. And I'm good friends with Dick Monfort, and I think he wants winners. He wants to be in a winning organization. He wants to build that. It's just tough because, he can open the checkbook, right? Mm-hmm. But how are you going to overpay a guy by $100 million just to come to Coors Field? Like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
So he's in a sticky situation. He's got the city on his back, and people always hounding him. But at the same time, like it's the guys on the field that have to get the job done at the end of the day. Right? Mm-hmm. We're all big leaguers. We're all there for a reason. So it's figuring it out on the field first. And then, if that doesn't work, then everybody goes straight to Dick, right? So the accountability falls on the players for me. Always has, always will. the front office tries to put the best team together as they can, and then it's up to the players to go do their job.
Yeah. And then Dustin.
I totally agree with that. But as we wrap up, Brandon, what has life been like post baseball career? We know we were with Cleveland and then made a stint overseas.
Yep.
In Korea. What is life like now that your post baseball Major League Baseball career? What have you been up to?
It's more chaotic. I'll tell you that. It's more busy. You know, I'm in the real estate game out here in Boise, Idaho. We moved 2.5 years ago out of California. We moved out here to give our kids a smaller, simpler, chiller life where they get all 4 seasons, and got into real estate. Been, you know, it's been different, you know, but it's still competitive, and I still got to fight and grind every day, which I absolutely love. I got to compete against other real estate agents and finding houses for clients, which is really awesome. You know, I've teamed up with a new startup, which, you know, has been all over Coors Field for the last month about teen driving. It's called How's My Teen Driver. You can go to howsmyteendriver.com, check it out. Unbelievable product for teen drivers. It's the number one killer of teens is car crashes. So we're trying to curb that by about 1,000 a year with our product. We've got another app coming out probably in the next 3 to 6 months that's going to change the way athletes can brand themselves through social media. So we're excited about that one. And then it's just family, man. It's being able to spend every day with my kids. You know, I was gone for months at a time. Being able to come home and have dinner with my wife and my kids, like, it's a blessing. I get to chill and hang out and talk to my wife instead of over the phone. I hate the phone, man. It's one of those things where I just never like talking on it. I'd rather be face to face with someone and having that intentional time. So it's been a blessing. It's been chaotic. It's been crazy. We've been all over the place. But I'm absolutely loving it. I tell you this straight up, I haven't watched an entire baseball game since I retired.
There you go. Understandable. No, but that's awesome. It's been cool for us to, you know, kind of looking up and seeing what you've been up to. And like we said, and like we've been talking about, you know, baseball is just that portion of your life, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that you know, you're getting that time now, you know, to spend time with your family and do these, you know, other things in life, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely, man. I get to watch my kids play sports now, which is so fun.
Is it infinitely more stressful than stepping into a big league box?
Absolutely. So my oldest plays volleyball, and I just sit there quiet and just try to, like, pump her up. I try not to get too crazy like I did on the baseball field, because I don't want all the other parents like, who is this guy? Like, why does he have so much energy out here? And then my middle daughter, she's an insane dancer. So she does a solo every year at these big competitions, and me and my wife don't sit next to each other during her solo. Like, my wife sits dead center and just, like, watches, and I'm off into the corner, like, hiding, because I have so much anxiety for her. So it's crazy. Yeah, there's way more pressure watching my kids and that anxiety, because I just want them to succeed and have the confidence to go out there every time and do their best. So yeah, man, I just sit there in the corner and, like, oh, come on, you got it. Like, just freaking out myself. I don't want her to see me freaking out.
Yeah, Dustin, that's how Dustin is coaching soccer, watching my nephew play soccer or baseball.
I love it,
I go off to the side and don't want to. One, I can't stand other parents.
Yeah.
Stuff, and then my kid, I just want to, you know, be off on there. Come on, you know, I twitch out over there on the side just like you.
Yeah, she knows I'm over there. She knows that we and my wife, like, we're both uber competitive. Like, she was a high jumper in college. I played sports my whole life. Like, we're super competitive, and when you put us both together, it doesn't mesh right. Like, we've got to separate, and I've got to have my anxiety. She has her stress, and we just root our kids on.
Uh-huh. It's the joys of being a parent. I'm not there yet, but it's fun to hear these kinds of things. Dustin, you have any other questions to ask?
I think we're good. We covered all the ones. I'm always one of more like outside of baseball stuff, and you hit it all.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, and we appreciate you hopping on with us, taking some time out of your day to hang out with us, and talk about the Rockies, because, well, as fans, we just see on TV, we see you play the field, but it's cool when we get to know the people, know the guys behind the jerseys,
Yeah,
and get to know you and see your personalities and your thought process, that you're still normal dudes.
yeah. I'm just normal, man. I'm just a kind of a laid back, chill guy that you put me on a baseball field and I'm a psycho. It's crazy, right? Like in my real life, that's not how I am. I have energy every single day. Like I'm up at 5:30, I'm out to the gym, like I'm ready to go every day, but I don't have that psycho crazy energy mentality anymore. It's nice to just kind of like sit back and chill.
Yeah. You're not having to stay up late watching video of the other real estate agents.
There's some that I like their swagger, the way they go about their business. So I'll watch them on YouTube here and there and get some tips. I'm always trying to constantly learn and evolve as an agent, right? Like it took me 7.5 years at the big leagues. It's going to take me that much time to like solidify my career and become the agent I want to become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes back to that mentality. That's that common thread we've touched on. You've got that intense mentality of strong work ethic, which is what endeared you in Colorado, what we enjoyed having you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I appreciated every fan that came out and supported, even the ones that like thought I was terrible, man. It lit a fuel fire under my butt every single day. And I appreciate you guys, getting on top of me and not liking where I was, because I didn't like where I was half the time, right? Like I wanted to succeed as a Rocky and be a starter, right? But for the ones that did like have my back and constantly like showed me love, like that was love, man. And I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's we won't keep you any longer here, Brandon, but we appreciate you taking the time to hop on with us and talk about you. And we know the fans appreciated your time in Colorado. We appreciate all that you're doing now, and wish you the best of luck with everything going forward.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, guys.
Awesome. And that'll do it here. We've been joined by Brandon Barnes, who was with the Rockies for 3 years, #1 there on his jersey. Awesome times, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on Affected by Not Affected by Altitude. That's the other podcast. This is Every Rockie Ever. I'm Skyler, and that's Dustin, and we'll see you next time here on the podcast.